Jamal. Carter had always understood one thing about success. It attracted attention, but not always the kind you expected. At Jefferson Ridge High School in suburban Ohio, expectations were quiet but clear. Some students were assumed to excel before they even spoke, while others had to prove themselves repeatedly just to be taken seriously. Jamal learned early which category he belonged to. He was 17, disciplined, and intensely focused. While many classmates balanced school with social drama, Jamal balanced school with responsibility. His mother worked long hospital shifts as a nurse, and his younger sister depended on him after school. Homework often began late at night after dinner dishes were washed and chores finished. Still, he maintained perfect grades. Math came naturally to him. Numbers felt honest. They followed rules that didn't change depending on who you were. Equations either worked or they didn't. There was comfort in that certainty. So when Jefferson Ridge announced a district-wide academic assessment, a standardized exam used to award elite university scholarships, Jamal prepared carefully. Twos emphasized how important the test was. Top scores could change futures. Jamal treated preparation like training. Practice exams filled weekends. Flashcards covered his desk. He studied during lunch periods while others scrolled through phones. His calculus teacher, Ms. Alina Thompson, noticed, "You don't have to push yourself this hard," she told him one afternoon. "I do," Jamal replied simply. "Opportunities don't come twice." Miss Thompson smiled softly but said nothing more. She had taught long enough to recognize determination shaped by experience rather than pressure. The exam took place on a cold Monday morning in March. Students filled the gymnasium, desks spaced evenly across the polished floor. Silence settled heavily as proctors distributed packets. Jamal felt calm. The questions unfolded exactly as he hoped, challenging but fair. Hours passed quickly. By the time he finished, he felt confident, though he avoided discussing answers with classmates afterward. He preferred certainty over speculation. 2 weeks later, results arrived. Students gathered anxiously in homeroom as envelopes were handed out. Jamal opened his slowly. Z-score sat at the very top of the page. Perfect. Not just the highest in his class, the highest recorded in Jefferson Ridge's history. For a moment, he simply stared. Then whispers began spreading across the room. No way. Seriously. Who got it? When classmates realized it was Jamal, reactions varied. Some congratulated him warmly. Others looked confused, even skeptical. By lunchtime, the entire school seemed to know. Ms. Thompson found him after class. "I knew you'd do well," she said proudly. "But this is extraordinary." Jamal smiled shyly. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine college acceptance letters arriving. Scholarships easing financial pressure on his family, doors opening wider than before. The feeling lasted less than 24 hours. The next morning, Jamal was called to the administrative office. Principal Robert Langley sat behind a large desk, hands folded carefully. Beside him sat another staff member, Jamal barely knew, Vice Principal Karen Doyle. "Jamal," Langley began, voice formal, "we need to discuss your exam results." Jamal nodded, confused, but calm. "Z. There are concerns regarding the validity of your score." The words landed heavily. "I don't understand," Jamal said. Karen Doyle slid a paper forward. "Your performance represents an extreme statistical anomaly." Jamal blinked. "I studied." Langley cleared his throat. "We're not making accusations, but when results differ this significantly from predictive models, protocol requires investigation." Predictive models. Jamal realized they meant expectations. "You think I cheated?" he asked quietly. "We're simply reviewing possibilities," Doyle replied. They asked where he sat during the test. Whether he had access to materials beforehand, whether anyone assisted him. Each question felt less like curiosity and more like doubt already formed. Jamal answered calmly, though embarrassment burned inside him. When he returned to class, whispers followed him. Someone had already heard. By afternoon, rumors spread rapidly. He got flagged. "They're checking his test." "I heard they think he cheated." Jamal tried focusing on assignments, but concentration slipped away. Every glance from classmates felt heavier. Some avoided him entirely. At home, he told his mother, reluctantly, "They can't just accuse you without proof," she said immediately, anger flashing across her face. "You worked for that." "They said it's procedure," Jamal replied, but deep down, he felt something else. A familiar discomfort he struggled to name. Not surprise. Recognition. Miss Thompson learned about the investigation later that day and immediately requested a meeting with administration. "This is ridiculous," she said firmly. "Jamal is one of the hardest working students I've ever taught." Langley remained composed. "We must ensure academic integrity." "Integrity includes fairness," she replied. He offered no response. After leaving the office, Ms. Thompson reviewed Jamal's academic history again. Perfect homework completion. Consistent improvement. High practice test scores. Nothing suggested dishonesty. Yet something bothered her. She requested access to past investigation records, something rarely examined closely. Patterns began emerging. Over several years, students flagged for unexpectedly high performance shared similarities. Many came from minority backgrounds. Several investigations occurred despite strong academic records. Meanwhile, students whose results aligned with expectations were rarely questioned, even when improvement appeared sudden. The realization unsettled her deeply. Jamal, meanwhile, endured quiet isolation. Teachers treated him politely but cautiously. Friends seemed unsure how to act. One afternoon in the cafeteria, he overheard a student say, "Nobody jumps from good to perfect like that." Jamal wanted to respond, to explain the nights spent studying while others slept, but exhaustion kept him silent. Doubt spread faster than truth. At home, his younger sister asked, "Did you really cheat?" The question hurt more than anything else. "No," he said gently. "I didn't." The question aloud made him realize how easily suspicion reshaped perception. Ms. Thompson continued investigating quietly. She compared flagged cases against academic histories and discovered something striking. Investigations were triggered not by irregular testing behavior, but by algorithmic alerts based on predicted performance ranges. Predictions influenced by prior assumptions. Students exceeding expectations too dramatically were automatically labeled suspicious. Expectation itself had become evidence. She scheduled another meeting with administration, bringing printed data. "These investigations disproportionately target certain students," she explained. "The system assumes limits based on historical averages." Langley frowned. "The software is standardized across districts." "That doesn't mean it's unbiased," she replied. The room fell silent. Days later, Jamal was required to retake portions of the exam under supervision. Sitting alone in a quiet testing room felt humiliating. A proctor watched closely as he worked through problems again. Despite stress, Jamal completed the test confidently. When results returned, his score remained nearly identical to the original. Perfect understanding. Still, administration delayed clearing his record, citing review timelines. Frustration grew among teachers who supported him. Students began questioning the process openly. Why was proof never enough? Ms. Thompson decided to act publicly within school policy. During a faculty meeting, she presented anonymized findings, showing investigation patterns and statistical bias. Teachers reacted with visible discomfort. "Oh, I never noticed this," one admitted. Another said quietly, "We trust systems too easily." Pressure built internally. Parents began contacting the school after hearing rumors. Community discussions emerged online, questioning fairness. Under increasing scrutiny, the district initiated an independent review. Weeks passed before final conclusions arrived. The investigation cleared Jamal completely. Officials acknowledged that algorithmic thresholds had incorrectly flagged his performance due to flawed predictive modeling. A formal apology followed. But apologies could not erase weeks of suspicion. When Principal Langley announced the findings over the school intercom, the statement sounded clinical. After review, no evidence of academic misconduct was found. No mention of impact. No acknowledgement of harm. Still, students applauded when Jamal returned to class that morning. Some approached him personally, offering congratulations they should have given from the start. Miss Thompson met him after school. "You handled this with more strength than most adults would," she said. Jamal shrugged slightly. "I just wanted them to believe me." She paused before responding. Sometimes, systems struggle to recognize excellence when it challenges expectations. Scholarship committees later confirmed Jamal's achievement, officially. Universities began reaching out with offers. His future reopened, brighter than before. Yet the experience changed him. Recognition now felt complicated. Success carried awareness of how easily trust could disappear. During graduation rehearsal months later, Jamal stood in the auditorium looking around at classmates preparing for their futures. He realized something important. The accusation had not defined him, but overcoming it had strengthened his confidence in ways achievement alone never could.
At the ceremony,
Ms. Thompson watched proudly as Jamal delivered a short student speech. "Sometimes," he said calmly to the audience, "people doubt what they don't expect to see. But expectations don't define limits. Effort does." The crowd rose in applause. His mother wiped away tears in the front row. For graduation, Jefferson Ridge updated its investigation policies, requiring human review before algorithmic flags triggered accusations. Teachers received training on bias awareness in academic evaluations. Change came slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. Months later, as Jamal prepared to leave for college, he packed textbooks into boxes beside acceptance letters that once felt uncertain. His sister hugged him tightly. "They know you're a genius now," she joked. Jamal laughed. But he understood something deeper. Validation mattered less than self-belief earned through perseverance. 2. The accusation had tried to rewrite his story. Instead, it revealed a truth far more powerful. Excellence sometimes forces systems to grow. And growth begins the moment doubt is replaced by understanding. College arrived faster than Jamal expected. By late August, he stood on a wide university campus hundreds of miles from Jefferson Ridge, surrounded by unfamiliar buildings and strangers carrying the same nervous excitement. Orientation banners hung between lampposts, and groups of new students laughed as they navigated maps and schedules. For most freshmen, the transition felt like freedom. For Jamal, it felt like both opportunity and quiet responsibility. He carried more than luggage with him. The experience from high school lingered in his thoughts, shaping how he approached every new interaction. He noticed small things immediately: how professors spoke to students, how classmates introduced themselves, and how assumptions formed within seconds of meeting someone. During his first calculus lecture, Jamil chose a seat near the middle of the hall. The professor, Dr. Alan Weiss, began solving complex equations within minutes, moving quickly across the board. Jamal followed easy reads, recognizing concepts he had already mastered. When Dr. Weiss asked a challenging question, silence filled the room. Jamal raised his hand. The professor paused, slightly surprised, then nodded. Jamal explained the solution step by step. A few students turned to look at him with curiosity. "Excellent reasoning," Dr. Weiss said approvingly. The simple acknowledgement felt different from high school. There was no hesitation, no suspicion, just recognition of correct work. Jamal felt a small sense of relief he hadn't realized he needed. Still, old habits remained. He double-checked assignments repeatedly before submitting them. He documented study sessions carefully, almost as if preparing proof for invisible critics. It took weeks before he noticed how much tension he carried without realizing it. One afternoon, while studying in the campus library, a classmate named Elena sat across from him. She had noticed his participation in lectures and asked if he wanted to join a study group preparing for upcoming exams. "We're trying to survive calculus together," she joked. Jamal smiled and agreed. The group met twice a week, quickly discovering that Jamal explained difficult concepts clearly. Instead of competition, they appreciated collaboration. For the first time, academic success felt shared rather than questioned. During one session, another student said casually, "You must have been valedictorian or something." Jamal hesitated before answering, "Not exactly. But I worked hard." He chose not to explain the full story yet. He wanted to be known first for who he was now, not for the accusation that once followed him. As weeks passed, Jamal began volunteering as a peer tutor through the university's academic support center. Helping other students reminded him of Ms. Thompson's belief in him during his hardest moments. He realized how powerful encouragement could be when someone doubted their own abilities. One evening, a freshman struggling with algebra grew frustrated and said, "I'm just not smart enough for this." Jamal recognized the tone instantly, the quiet acceptance of limitation. "That's not true," he replied calmly. "Sometimes people just haven't been shown the right way yet." They worked through problems slowly until understanding appeared on the student's face. Watching confidence replace frustration felt deeply meaningful. Walking back to his dorm that night, Jamal understood something important. His experience had given him empathy he might not otherwise have developed. He knew how damaging doubt could feel, especially when it came from authority. Mid-semester, he received an unexpected email from Ms. Thompson. She wanted to check in and see how college life was going. They scheduled a video call that weekend. Seeing his former teacher smiling on screen brought immediate comfort. "You look happy," she said. "I am," Jamal admitted. "It's different here. People just listen." She nodded knowingly. "You earned that space." They spoke about his classes, tutoring work, and future goals. Before ending the call, she added, "Your case changed more than you realize. The school updated policies this year. Teachers talk openly about bias now." Jamal felt a quiet warmth hearing that. The struggle he endured had not been meaningless. Later that semester, the university hosted a student forum about fairness in education. Encouraged by friends, Jamal attended, intending only to listen. But when discussion turned toward academic expectations and hidden bias, he felt compelled to speak. Standing before a room full of students felt intimidating, yet his voice remained steady. "Sometimes," he said, "people don't question success because of evidence. They question it because it doesn't match what they expected to see. And that can change how someone sees themselves if they're not careful." The room grew silent, attentive. "But what I learned," he continued, "is that your ability doesn't disappear just because someone doubts it. The important thing is not letting doubt become louder than your own effort." Afterward, several students approached him, sharing their own stories of being underestimated for different reasons, in different environments. Jamal realized his experience connected him to people beyond a single incident or school. By the end of his first semester, grades were posted online. Jamal opened the page quietly in his dorm room. All A's. He smiled, not out of relief, but confidence. This time, success felt unquestioned, steady, and fully his. He called his mother immediately. "I knew you'd do it," she said proudly. "I never doubted you." "I know," Jamal replied softly. After the call, he sat by the window watching students cross campus under glowing lights. The journey from accusation to achievement suddenly felt clearer. The challenge he once wished had never happened had shaped his resilience, teaching him that belief in oneself often had to exist before recognition from others arrived. Jamal closed his laptop and prepared for the next day's classes, feeling lighter than he had in years. The past no longer followed him as a shadow. Instead, it stood behind him as proof of growth. And for the first time, he understood that success was not just about proving others wrong. It was about continuing forward without needing their doubt to define the path ahead.